All right, so when we're finding our standard deviation, we do have a formula. It looks, again, more complicated than the ones that we've seen previously in this chapter. So our standard deviation, or S, is going to be the square root of the summation of x minus x bar squared divided by n minus 1. Right? So again, our summation means we're going to add all of these different things. Our x's are our individual data points that are in our set. Our x bar is our mean. N is our sample size, and then each individual subtraction, this x minus x bar, is what we refer to as a deviation, which is where the name standard deviation comes from. So in order to find our standard deviation, for the most part, we're only going to do it by hand for small sets of data, because we'll see that even for a small set of data, it's going to take a little bit of work to get this and go through the calculation. As we're going through these, you definitely want to pay attention, watch your signs, watch your just basic arithmetic, your multiplication and addition and things like that. So the first thing we're going to do is determine the mean of our data set. And then we're going to make a chart having 3 different columns: data, data minus mean, and then data minus mean squared. We're going to take all of our data values and list those vertically under the column marked data. We're going to go through and subtract the mean from each data point and place that in the data minus mean column. Order does matter, so we could end up with positive results or negative results in this column. Then we're going to square those values and record those values in the data minus mean squared column. Remember that when we square a negative, it turns positive. So that means that our second column could have either positive or negative values for our differences, but then when we square them, our last column should always be all positive. Right? So then we're going to take all of these positive squared values. We are going to add them up, so determine the sum. So that's that summation part on the top of our formula. Right? And then we're going to take that sum and we're going to divide it by n minus 1. And then once we have that, we're going to determine our square root of the quotient that we saw in step 7, the answer from number step 7. This is going to be our standard deviation. So we're going to walk through a couple of examples. Our first example, we're actually going to numerically compare our data set that we saw in example 2, which is just directly above this, and then we will also work through one more example using our standard deviation formula.